Hi everyone, I'm Alister Benn and you're watching Expressive Photography. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how you can improve your photography and the whole photographic experience in only 45 seconds. Now, I appreciate that is the most ridiculous claim ever, and considering that three things are not going to be happening in this video, it's even more incredible. First of all, I'm not going to be recommending that you buy any new equipment. Secondly, I'm not going to recommend that you fly off to any exotic locations. And thirdly, I am not going to recommend any new tips, tricks, or techniques or plugins that will miraculously change your creativity. Instead, I'm going to give you a question. And that question and the answer to that question are going to shape your relationship with your photography, your creativity, the experiences that you have when you're in the landscape and in front of the computer. The question is very simple, and when we ask it, the answer that we give tells us everything we need to know about our photography, ourselves, and our creativity. You're waiting, aren't you? The question that I'm going to suggest you ask yourself is, am I enjoying this? It's a very simple question, but the answers are very profound, really. I spend a huge amount of my life in this studio, and if I didn't enjoy it, then it would be a pretty heartbreaking thing for me to have to do. I've had very unhealthy relationships with this office, obviously during COVID and during lockdown, with the pressure of making weekly content for the YouTube channel here, plus all the other things that we have to do to run a photography business. I've had some dark times in this office, and the reason we've got the wider view today is I don't want it to feel like I'm sat against a black background delivering content. I want to just talk to you. The same is true for when we're out in the landscape. There are many times when I'm out there and the winds are screaming and the rain or the hail or the snow are piling down on me. We're getting blown around, we're getting soaked, the light's grey and flat and overcast, that we haven't seen the sun in 3 weeks, but we're still out there. And I can honestly say that those experiences are massively important to me. Being out there in the landscape, seeing incredible things, experiencing incredible things, and not being sat in here are all great reasons for me to be out in the landscape. I can honestly say that in the last 5 to 10 years, I don't think I've ever been in the landscape and wished that it was different from how it was. I can honestly say I am happy in those situations. I'm enjoying those situations. When we're stuck in front of the computer, the opposite thing can be true. I know many photographers who struggle with their processing to make images of quality, that somehow they feel are worthy of sharing with other people. They're trying to overcome complicated techniques. They're trying to learn things. If you're struggling in front of a photograph and you ask yourself the magic question, am I enjoying this? And the answer is no, then you need to do a bit of soul searching to re-establish a different relationship with what it is you're trying to achieve. Quite often, I know, again, having spoken to hundreds of photographers, tens of thousands of photographers over the last 20 years or so, that many people follow processes or try to learn processes just by following along with an instructional video or a tutorial of some description. And what that tends to do is, unless you're using the photograph that the instructor or the tutor is giving you to play with or to try out on, you can end up struggling because your photograph isn't the same as the one that is being used as an example. Learning techniques and trying to combine that with being creative at the same time are rarely good ways to go forward. I remember a couple of years ago making a video, and it was, "Are you a happy photographer?" And this is kind of an extension of that. 2 years after making that video, I'm sat here in a different office, a very different man than I was back then. And really what's happened is I've changed my relationship with my creativity. I know why I make photographs. I know that I don't need every trick in the book to process them in an expressive and meaningful way. There are dozens of videos on this expressive photography channel alone that talk about expressing ourselves, how to process by feel, how to find a better emotional mood and meaning in your photographs. And you can do that quickly without an awful lot of technique. If you go into the landscape with expectations for certain weather conditions or clouds or God beams or rainbows or Milky Ways, and they don't materialize, and you feel bad about that situation, you've basically wasted your time. You might as well not have bothered going in the first place. If your expectation is so wrapped up in the product that you hope to make, you're probably going to fail. You're probably going to have an unpleasant experience. You're probably not going to be enjoying it. That, unfortunately, is a very hard truth. And if the answer to that question is no, I'm not, well, I nearly swore there, I'm not enjoying this, then you really should be asking yourself what your motivation is for being there in the first place. The world's a magnificent place filled with incredible beauty and incredible diversity. Just out our door here in the west of Scotland, we've got the sea, we've got mountains, we've got forests, we've got rivers. And all of those are incredible places just to be in. And I've never been out there where I haven't thought, oh, I wish I had my camera with me just now because that's a really cool little scene. And it might just be some leaves with some water flowing over them and the way the light is shining through that. Finding beauty in small details is a very, very good way of making any day a good day when it comes to being creative or expressive. Same with being in front of the computer. Understanding that if you're not happy with what you're doing, are you trying to do it in a way that's too hard, too complicated? If it doesn't feel right to you, it's not right for you. I'm not saying that you should never discipline yourself and practice and practice and practice something, but look on it as practice. Look on it as going to school for 45 minutes or an hour and a half or even half a day or a weekend. Dedicate the time if that is an important process that you feel is really necessary for you to use, like focus stacking that I did a few weeks ago. Practice that so that you can do it flawlessly and quickly. I sometimes go into Photoshop and struggle to do something because it's so long since I've done it. But quite often I find myself thinking, well, I can probably do this in 5% of the time quicker and more efficiently in Adobe Lightroom. So I just go back into that software that I know inside out, and Bob's your uncle. I do it and it looks perfectly fine. I know this has been a different type of video today. I'm just sat here enjoying myself really rather than sort of talking to camera, as it were. But I just wanted to try and be as honest and open as I possibly can be. I run a company called Expressive Photography. It is necessary for me to express myself. It is necessary for the people who are subscribed to the Expressive Photography Forum to express themselves. And I think that being at one with the world and your creativity is such an important part of what we're trying to achieve here, that all the techniques and tips and tricks and locations and fancy gear in the world really doesn't sort out the space between your ears. Thanks for tuning in and watching this video again. I do appreciate it, and hopefully you find that question a useful and valuable one, because really, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you really need to work out why you're not enjoying it. A vast number of photographers are not happy with their photographic process, the time they have in the field, the time they have in front of the computer. And the reason they're not happy is because the relationship they're having with that whole experience is somehow flawed. I hope you can dig a little bit deeper into the space between your ears and find some of those answers, and then take the necessary steps to change that relationship in a way that's going to give you far more enjoyable experiences when you're out in the field, and far more enjoyable experiences when you're sat in front of the camera. I had a very unhealthy relationship with one of these for many, many years. because I wasn't the virtuoso guitar player I hoped that I was going to be. I just didn't have the time necessary to master this thing so that I could shred the way that I would perhaps want. But over the years, I've managed to get a far healthier relationship with this, to the point now where I can sit and play and be very, very happy and lose myself in harmonies and chord progressions and arpeggios. Thanks for watching again. I do hope you enjoy it. Click the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. And don't forget, if you haven't already done so, we have the Out of Darkness book. It's available in pre-sale. The pre-sale will be coming to an end very, very shortly. So if you're living in the United States, the UK, or most of the European countries, we are still offering free shipping. So jump in and get yourself a copy of Out of Darkness, which will be shipping in February and March next year. Thanks for watching again. I'm Alister Benn. You're watching Expressive Photography, and now it's time to play guitar. Bye for now.